So I want to show you guys a way that I've been using Gaeshi in my jiu-jitsu. I've been actually able to not just use the position of the arms, the arm lock, but I've also been able to start to integrate the Aikido principles and movement of the body, and I've been hitting this successfully in practice, so I'm actually really happy with it. And Cade actually had a number of details that he added to it that I thought were really useful, so we're going to go over some of those as well. So I think one of the best ways to set this up, and Cade and I discussed this, he actually came up with this, is off of this shoulder crunch scenario, because a lot of times people are just pushing away from you, and while I've been successful just feeding this and grabbing like that, it's on people who are of a lower level. When I'm rolling with higher level people, it's much easier to set this up here. When I'm coming up like this, and I'm grabbing my hands together, and I'm in this shoulder crunch position. From this shoulder crunch position, people try to pull out all the time. They're gonna try to pull, and I'm just cutting this down. This movement actually also exists in Aikido. It's right in the Daison. So from here, I'm gonna keep this grip here, and I reach back and I grab a hold of his forearm, and I'm making sure that I turn my body and open a little bit so that I'm not reaching behind my head where I'm weak. From here, I'm gonna fold his arm directly into a position where it's cranked, and I throttle my wrist to put a lot of pressure on the shoulder. You gotta be careful with this because you can easily tear their shoulder out. It's really important that his wrist is outside of the line of his body, so it's taking him off balance, and that my upper arm bone is blocking his elbow from slipping out. From here, I remain close to him, and I come up onto my knees with a spring step, and I'm gonna step out and move backwards along this line. And by moving backwards along that line, I pull his weight out from underneath him without using any force. From this position, it's really easy to come into any kind of triangle, come into a rear triangle, hit a slot machine. There's a lot of options here. Another really cool option is to use a pendulum to come up with this. So this is another way not to use force and to use that perpendicular line. So I'm gonna come up here, shoulder crunch, turn my body, feed the hand, taking it outside of the line. From here, what I'm gonna do is, instead of coming up, I'm gonna take my legs out, and I come off on that line and pendulum up, switching my hips, and I can go into the same kind of maneuvers. And if I want to, I can even make entries onto the legs. So there's a lot of options there. It's a really cool technique, and I really like how I'm able to use this Aikido principle. Just come on your knees for 1 second, kid. So if we were doing this move in Aikido, one thing that might happen is that instead of trying to take him over backwards this way, I instead would pull him down this way as a way to not be using force on force. And I really have been taking advantage of that in my jiu-jitsu and in live practice, so I wanted to share that with everybody.